Okay, guys, so this is one of the weirdest ever comics of Star Trek The Next Generation. This is issue number 2 of the 6-issue miniseries, Star Trek The Next Generation. You can see March of '88, and again, it was being written before the show actually aired, before the series premiere of Encounter at Farpoint. So all this information, like the costumes and the characters and whatever, came from, the show guide or the Bible that they were using for the show, because no episode had ever aired yet. So again, as we go through this comic, you'll find some of the characterization is a bit off. And this is a weird one. This is a weird one, I must say. Most TV shows have a Christmas episode. There was never a Christmas episode of Star Trek The Next Generation because Roddenberry had said that religion really wouldn't be a thing in the 24th century. And yet, here we have a comic where they're celebrating Christmas aboard the Enterprise. You can see the Christmas tree there. And it's a pretty intriguing cover. But anyway, it's weird. And I liken this to the Star Wars Christmas special, It's kind of this embarrassment that nobody ever kind of talks about. Well, this comic is kind of the embarrassment Christmas episode or issue that nobody really ever talks about. But we'll thumb through this for a bit of a laugh, and you'll see what I mean. Again, I'm not going to read it. I'll just tell you basically what goes on in the story, and if you want, you can pause at the panels and read it yourself. But essentially, it's Christmas time aboard the Enterprise, and the crew is speaking to an alien race that they've never encountered before. And look at that art. Again, it's really, really good. The bridge looks great. But once again, you can see how jacked and how beefy and in shape everybody is, which is a stretch. I mean, certainly they didn't look like that, but I guess they're using comic liberties here to make it more superhero-ish. Anyway, they're talking to this race known as the Krieg. And this is Spirit in the Sky, the name of this issue, which, as I say, is a Christmas issue. Again, the art, especially of the Enterprise, is fantastic. Looks really good. So credit to these guys, I think these particular guys did this entire 6-episode series. And, I guess they did the best with what they could, but this story is just wacky, completely wacky. So basically, Riker invites this alien race to the Enterprise to celebrate the joyous season. And the alien race are known as the Krieg. In fact, here's one right here. He looks like a sort of a ninja that's into S&M or bondage. Bondage ninjas, basically. And they're invited aboard the Enterprise to celebrate Christmas with the rest of the crew. So I guess, instead of getting into their Sunday best, Deanna Troi takes off most of her clothes. Picard puts on this jacket thingy. And Tasha Yar talks about how she didn't have much of a childhood. Certainly no celebrating Christmas on her world. But basically, the crew is getting ready to celebrate the holiday season. And there they all are, getting ready to go on the holodeck, which, interestingly, you can see here, Wesley calls it the holo chamber. But anyway, inside the holodeck, look at it. There's skiing, there's celebrating, there's a Christmas tree, fun and festivities for all and sundry. And there's that couple again, the Binkleys or the Bickleys or the Bickerleys or whatever, and they're fighting, even though they're under the mistletoe. And like I said, you won't see this couple after this 6 series. They're gently weeded out, and that's the end of them. But they were created specifically for this comic. Obviously, it didn't work, and That was the end of their characters. So anyway, this alien group of Krieg, these bondage ninjas, board the Enterprise and greet the crew, and they join in the celebrations. However, nosy Wesley, decides to do some snooping, and he gets a vibe that things aren't exactly as they appear with these Krieg, and he finds one walking through the corridors, unsupervised, and he gets a vibe that something's a bit off. And of course, he goes back and tries to explain this to people. And basically, it's like, shut up, Wesley. Leave us alone. We're celebrating Christmas. Nobody believes him. But he finds out that Troi sort of believes him. Troi thinks something's going on. And once he and Troi compare notes, they think there is something going on with the Krieg, that they're after something, because there's some other force on the Enterprise, and they seem to be wanting to consume it, for lack of a better word. And Troi finds this out when she does this mind meld thingy. I guess in the comic, maybe it wasn't clear on the show how she had an empathic connection to people's emotions. Here, she's basically connecting and getting a clear picture that they're after something. They want to consume something on the ship, and that their intentions aren't pure. What that something is, we don't know yet, but there seems to be a force on the ship that these Krieg want to consume. And once they're found out, they actually beam weapons aboard, because, why put on airs and graces now? They've been discovered. And, of course, all hell breaks loose. But they're on the hunt to consume the mysterious force that's aboard the ship. And it turns out this mysterious force was inside Data. You can see it fly out there. And, of course, everyone's wondering, is Data okay? He's just been consumed by this force, and these guys want the force. And now you can see them without their, their bondage ninja gear on. They look exactly like the Grinch, basically. This is like the Grinches of Star Trek. And they're after this mysterious force for some reason, which was inside Data. But Data, he's okay with the force being inside him. It didn't feel uncomfortable. In fact, it felt wonderful, according to Data. And this force is beginning to take shape. And of course, what shape does it take? You can start seeing the form that this force is taking. And anyway, the force apparently attacks one of the Krieg. So it fills the Krieg with this mysterious force that the Krieg's been wanting. And then it flies through the ship, and the Krieg want more of this. They want to be consumed by this. They want to consume this force and take all its energy. And you can see where this is going. I mean, they look like Grinches. The force looks like Santa Claus. They basically want to fill themselves with the spirit of Christmas, you see. So again, things aren't always what they seem. It's not really a negative thing that these Krieg are looking for the force. It's that this force is the spirit of Christmas, and they want to fill themselves with the joy of Christmas so they're not, miserable, basically. So that seems to be what's going on. So now the force has moved on the ship, and they're trying to figure out where has the force gone. So they're looking through the ship. They go to different, again, to the holodeck and everything, and they can see people celebrating. They sense that the force was there at one point, but it's not there now. But you can see how everyone's been touched by the force, the spirit of Christmas, and they're all celebrating. So anyway, one of them comes to the grand conclusion that where would you go if you were the force of Christmas? Why, to the north, naturally, to the north of the Enterprise, which apparently is the bridge, according to this comic. So they make their way up to the bridge, and they find the force cowering in the corner in the form of a very skinny and dilapidated Santa Claus, basically, because it's been spreading its joy, throughout the ship, and it's been touching everyone with its force. So the Krieg, seeing that it's weak, they're desperate for consumption of this energy, but basically the force is too weak and dilapidated, so they have to give it love. They have to return the favor and send Christmas love to this Christmas spirit, this force, this spirit in the sky, to fill him and bloat him up with love and joy so it can return the favor and spread that Christmas spirit through everybody else in the crew. I mean, this is wacky stuff, even for a comic book. But anyway, all's well that ends well, and to all a good night. Christmas is enjoyed and celebrated by all because they were all touched by the spirit of Christmas. So that is this wacky Christmas episode, Christmas comic number 2. It is wacky, as you can imagine. If this was a TV show, if they actually made this, on TV for Star Trek The Next Generation, I don't know. It may be even more embarrassing, like I said, than the Star Wars Christmas special. And this is apparently the only Christmas story that's ever appeared for Star Trek The Next Generation. If you include all canon, all movies, all the beta canon and the books and novels and everything else, I don't even think there's been a fan film that showed Christmas aboard the Enterprise, but this comic did it. This comic did it. I mean, the art is great, as always, but it's a wacky story. It's basically how the Grinch find the spirit of Christmas aboard the Enterprise. Now, I love Christmas, and I love Star Trek, but this is a weird one. So there you have it, guys. Christmas aboard the Enterprise, Star Trek The Next Generation, Spirit in the Sky, which was the second comic in this 6-comic miniseries. So until next time, enjoy your Star Trek comics. Merry Christmas.